Good morning. So, uh, this is the first winter school on experimental gravitational physics that's being held in India. So, we start the session by inaugural talk by the director, Dr. P.D. Gupta. I invite Dr. P.D. Gupta, Director, Aracat, to inaugurate the school by delivering the inaugural talk. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Professor Peter Olsen, Dr. P.K. Gupta, Professor Bala Iyer, Professor Uni Krishnan, Dr. Rana Dikari, Dr. Oliver Punkin, Dr. Sendil Raja, participants, colleagues, and friends. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to welcome you all to the ICTS Winter School on Experimental Gravitational Wave Physics being held here at Raja Ramanna Center for Advanced Technology, or we call in short RRCAT. All of us are well familiar with electromagnetic waves such as X-rays, radio waves, microwaves, ultraviolet rays, and light rays from different sources, including the sky. These waves are emitted by electric charges in motion. Another type of waves, known as gravitational waves, akin to the electromagnetic waves, are emitted by gravitating bodies in motion, such as two black holes spiraling toward each other in a binary orbit in the cosmos. Gravitational waves are extremely difficult to detect, and although they were predicted about 100 years ago, till today they have not been seen in experiments. However, there is irrefutable evidence that they do exist. This evidence comes from the Nobel Prize winning discovery that the compact binary orbit of a pair of stars is shrinking due to the emission of gravitational waves, precisely as predicted by general theory of relativity. Gravitational wave science holds the potential to address some of the key questions in fundamental physics, astrophysics, and cosmology, such as what is the structure of neutron stars and how do they evolve? How common are black holes and how are they distributed in the universe? What is the mechanism that causes a collapsing star to become a supernova? What were the physical processes involving matter energy during the Big Bang? Is Einstein's general theory of relativity the correct description of gravity? The key to gravitational wave detection is the extremely precise measurement of small change of about 10 raised to the power minus 18 meters in distance, a mind-boggling precision of a trillionth of 1 micron. This can be achieved using laser interferometer comprising of several kilometers long evacuated arms and extremely stable laser systems, mirror suspensions, and detectors. The challenges involved in making this possible would require the most sophisticated technologies in lasers, optics, vibration isolation, electronics, etc., where the precision and stability requirements are pushed to extreme limits. This has motivated and will continue to motivate new R&D in these fields. I am happy that this winter school on experimental gravitational wave physics being held here aims to provide a comprehensive exposure of these various aspects to the participants. There is a worldwide quest for detection of gravitational waves, and the effort is spearheaded by LIGO Laboratory. LIGO stands for Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. It consists of the two installations within the United States, one in Hanford, Washington, and the other in Livingston, Louisiana, operated in unison as a network of global detectors along with Virgo detector in Italy. LIGO is operated by the LIGO Laboratory, a consortium of the California Institute of Technology Caltech and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that is MIT, with support from National Science Foundation of United States of America. Indian interest in gravitational wave detection dates back to 1990, when a joint proposal was made by IUCA, that is Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics Pune, and RRCAT together to build a 100-meter prototype system. The idea was put forwarded by Dr. D.D. Bhavalkar and Dr. P.K. Gupta from RRCAT and Professor J. Narlikar and Professor Sanjeev Dhurandhar of IUCA. Later, in 1995, there were efforts to collaborate with the Australian Consortium for Gravitational Wave Detection to build a kilometer-class gravitational wave detector in Australia. Several years later, in the year 2009, the Indian Consortium for Gravitational Wave Detection, named INDIGO, was constituted. RRCAT, as a premier national laboratory, was invited to join this consortium. A great opportunity came up in October 2011 when LIGO Laboratory made an offer to give their second Hanford detector called H2 detector to India to operate as LIGO India Laboratory after the Australian consortium was not able to secure the requisite funds to whom the offer was made in the first place. It may be mentioned here that the proposal of LIGO Lab to locate their third detector in either Australia or India was motivated from the fact that location of a detector at the greatest possible distance from the existing LIGO detectors in the United States and Virgo detector in Italy would increase the baseline and thereby make a great improvement in the sky localization of the gravitational waves. Setting up of a LIGO observatory in India named as LIGO India under the patronage of the Department of Atomic Energy and the Department of Science and Technology is presently under consideration of the Government of India. This project will be jointly implemented by 3 Indian institutes, namely Institute of Plasma Research, that is IPR Gandhinagar, IUCA Pune and RRCAT Indore, in partnership with LIGO Laboratory USA. An advanced interferometer gravitational wave detector located and operated on Indian soil will be transformational and rejuvenating for Indian astronomy, experimental physics and technology development, bringing together the best engineering and physics groups. Very importantly, this will foster the research industry partnership for advanced scientific instrument building and initiate the much needed development of expertise and human resource in many fields and motivating a whole new generation of youngsters to take up science and technology as a career. It is my great privilege to extend our sincere thanks to Professor Saulson, Professor Adhikari and Dr. Punken, who have come all the way to deliver lectures, especially during the holiday season, to the participants here and give them scientific exposure in this exciting area of gravitational wave physics. Also, my deep appreciation to Professor Bala Iyer from RRI, my senior colleague Dr. P.K. Gupta and Dr. Sindhil Raja from RRCAT, Dr. P. Ajit from ICTS and Dr. Tarun Soradip from IUCA for organization of this school at RRCAT. Since most of the outstation participants in this winter school would have come to this center for the first time, let me take this opportunity of saying a few words about our center. RRCAT is a leading unit of the Department of Atomic Energy engaged in R&D programs in the frontline areas of particle accelerators and lasers and related advanced technologies like cryogenics, ultra-high vacuum, superconducting cavities, RF power, magnets, etc. The center is home to our country's only two synchrotron radiation sources named Indus 1 and Indus 2. Indus 2 is the largest accelerator of 2.5 GeV energy in the country, which has been indigenously designed, built and commissioned. Both Indus 1 and Indus 2 are being operated in round-the-clock mode. This has been accomplished due to successful in-house development of new technology of high-power solid-state RF amplifiers to replace three old klystrons for which problems were faced in their import. It may be mentioned here that it is for the first time in the world that high-power solid-state amplifiers at frequency exceeding 500 MHz and delivering 200 kilowatt CW power have been developed and successfully deployed in a synchrotron radiation source. 12 beam lines on Indus 2 and 5 beam lines on Indus 1 are operational, and the same are being used by researchers from universities, academic institutions and national laboratories. RRCAT has also taken up a program on R&D activities on 1 GeV high intensity superconducting proton LINAC for a long-term program on spallation neutron source. This will require several numbers of multi-cell superconducting cavities operating at different RF frequencies. To start with, a number of single-cell prototype cavities at 1.3 GHz have been developed and tested. Development activities on cryo modules, cavity test facilities and solid-state RF amplifiers to power the SCRF cavities are being pursued. Infrastructure setup required for superconducting RF cavity fabrication, processing and testing has been developed. In addition to the proton accelerator and synchrotron activities, our center has the largest program on laser science and technology in the country, with many vibrant R&D activities on building laser systems and using them for industrial and medical applications and as research tools. The center has developed several laser systems that include high power ND glass laser chain, copper vapor lasers, copper vapor laser pump dye lasers, nanosecond solid state lasers pumped by flash lamps or laser diodes, high power continuous and pulsed carbon dioxide lasers, chemical lasers, excimer lasers, semiconductor diode lasers, and more recently fiber lasers, and also a soft X-ray laser operating at 46.9 nanometer in a capillary discharge argon plasma. A variety of basic and applied research work using lasers is carried out at the center. Laser-based instruments have been developed for biomedical applications, for example, for tuberculosis and diabetic retinopathy treatment, and several other instruments for use in nuclear reactor program. Optical coherence tomography setups have been developed for optical imaging of biological tissues. Laser-based fluorescence and Raman techniques have been developed for cancer diagnosis. Laser-based manipulation of microscopic objects has been used for a variety of studies, such as laser-assisted injection of genetic materials or drugs into cells, malaria diagnosis with laser tweezers, laser-driven micro rotors for flow control in microfluidic channels, etc. The center has developed and deployed a large number of fiber-coupled industrial Nd:YAG lasers for remote cutting and welding of components in nuclear reactors. These have been used in en-masse coolant channel replacement in 3 pressurized heavy water reactors, which has resulted in a large reduction in radiation exposure to the personnel, beside a huge money saving. Next, we have also developed a novel laser-based welding technique for fabrication of superconducting RF niobium cavities for high energy particle accelerators, for which international patent has been applied. A single cell niobium cavity fabricated using this technique for the first time in the world has been tested at Fermilab, which has shown excellent performance. We believe this will open up an entirely new R&D path which will be greatly followed by scientists and engineers engaged in accelerator programs world over. In other areas of basic and applied research, ultra-short Tie-Sapphire laser pulses have been used to accelerate electrons to high energies, thereby opening up the possibility of having compact source of energetic electron and ion beams, very high order harmonic generation to produce coherent radiation in the X-ray region, ultra fast X-ray diffraction using laser produced plasma X-ray source, and tabletop generation of fusion neutrons. Next, laser with ultra stable frequency have been used for laser cooling and trapping of neutral atoms for applications in high resolution spectroscopy, Bose-Einstein condensation, and electromagnetic induced transparency. All these activities are well supported by our excellent optical design and fabrication laboratory and optical coating facilities. I welcome you all to visit our laboratories and do hope that some of you would find time for visiting our laboratories during your stay at RRCAT for the winter school. RRCAT is also a constituent unit of the Homi Bhabha National Institute, a deemed university under which PhD program is conducted. Financial support is available for students joining this program as JRF and later on as SRF, and accommodation is provided in our postgraduate hostel located in the campus itself. At present, about 30 external students are carrying out their PhD work in areas of lasers and their applications, accelerators, and advanced materials. Details on this program may be obtained from the HBNI cell located in this building itself or from our website. In the end, I once again welcome you all and hope that you will have a very enlightening scientific exposure in this school and an enjoyable stay at RRCAT. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. P.D. Gupta. May I now invite Professor Bala Iyer, Chair of the Indigo Consortium, to give a few words, talk a few words about Indigo and the rationale for the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Senthil. Dr. P.D. Gupta, Director RRCAT, Dr. P.K. Gupta, Professor Peter Salson, Rana Adhikari, Dr. Oliver Punkan, colleagues and participants. On behalf of my colleagues in the Indigo Consortium, a hearty welcome to this ICTS Gravity Wave Experimental School, which we are holding at RRCAT. A brief history of Indigo. Dr. P.D. Gupta has already mentioned something, but it may be interesting to share the genesis of Indigo. As some of you know, since the 90s, Indian involvement in the gravity wave was in source modeling at RRI in my group and in gravity wave data analysis at Ayuka under Sanjeev Dhurandhar. As Dr. P.D. Gupta mentioned, we were hoping that we had an experimental activity exactly at that same epoch, but unfortunately for various reasons it didn't take off. But I'm very happy that today we are slowly getting there. The important point is that in 2007, during an ICGC meeting at Ayuka, Rana Adhikari, who is here, in his plenary talk, first suggested that India should have its own gravity wave observatory, and he called it Indigo, a name which I think was suggested by Anand Sengupta, who was a student at Ayuka and later on a postdoc at Caltech. Now this got us thinking, and in 2009 at a reunion meeting at Ayuka to brainstorm the options, the Indigo Consortium was basically formed. And then the consortium seriously debated the possibility and benefits of setting up a gravity wave detector using the discarded elements from initial LIGO. So we really debated this, but then at the end of it we concluded that for the investment involved, it really only made sense to have an advanced detector and not a detector only sensitive at high frequencies. At the same time, what happened was there was an Indo-Australian project, and through that we were looking at the participation of India in an Australian detector which was IGO. And then this brought us in contact with the GWIC, the Gravitational Wave International Committee, the LIGO scientists, the scientists in ASIGA, and this basically morphed into participation in the LIGO Australia if that would happen. And then, as Dr. P.D. Gupta mentioned, when funding for LIGO Australia did not happen, it really morphed into the LIGO India, and that is what really excited us. Since May 2011, the consortium has been working towards making this happen, and as I would like to sort of mention that Rana has really played a crucial role at various stages in various aspects, and I'm happy therefore he's there today again for one of the other crucial things which we need to do, and that is build the manpower for this particular project on a very short time scale. So basically what the consortium has did over the last few years in collaboration with scientists at the 3 lead institutes is to make sure that LIGO India was sort of made its place among the mega projects which was being discussed under the 12th plan, and with sustained effort and support from scientific leaders like Professor Kasturi Rangan in the Planning Commission, Dr. Kakodkar, who was the chair of the AYUKA Governing Council, the chairs of funding agencies, Dr. Banerjee, Sinha, Ramaswamy, the directors of lead institutes that took lead responsibilities for LIGO India, like Professor Kao at IPR, Professor Kembavi at AYUKA, Dr. P.D. Gupta, the director of RRCAT, Dr. Purnaya, who is in the strategic planning group in the DAE, and then there was a core group in Indigo, my colleagues Dr. Unnikrishnan, Tarun Sauradeep, Sendil and Ajay. All of us really worked to really come to where we are today in trying to get the project approval. And as Dr. P.D. Gupta mentioned in the beginning of this month, from the funding agencies, the proposal is now with the cabinet for final approval, and we hope that we will get there soon. Now, what about the rationale for this particular school? So the school really has been organized, and the prime motive is to jumpstart participation in LIGO India by students, scientists and engineers with interest in instrument and science and technology of gravitational wave interferometric detectors. We are basically fortunate that we have the world's best to do this. Professor Salson has been involved in LIGO, I think, since its beginning. Right? He worked as a postdoc, starting as a postdoc with Ray Weiss. I think he has been involved and seen LIGO evolve from an idea to what it is today. So all of us who cut our teeth in gravity wave experiments basically have looked at, studied things from his book, and I'm really delighted that he's here with us. Some of you know that he is a fellow of the APS. He has been the recipient of the Physics Department Teaching Award in 2002. He has been awarded in 2003. He was the Syracuse University Scholar Teacher in 2003. He has been involved in gravity wave outreach for decades, and therefore I think we cannot think of a better teacher for all of you today. So thanks, Peter, for being here. Rana, of course, as I told you, has been involved. He coined the word Litigo and then has been instrumental in getting LIGO India through various phases. And as some of you know, he was really instrumental in getting initial LIGO at Livingston to its design sensitivity. So again, who better to tell you about how to get on to working with detectors. And Oliver, of course, has been involved in the construction and installation of the laser, which is used in advanced LIGO. So you have obviously the world's best as teachers in this particular school, and therefore, as I said, we could not have asked for a more distinguished faculty, and therefore, as participants, it will be a challenge for us to live up to their expectations and to match their commitment and enthusiasm in this particular school. I hope that every one of you in this school will be associated with LIGO India in the future decades via your own participation and through the participation of your students and postdocs. This is not, we don't expect you to just come here and go. We expect you to be committed to us, because we think that what we are going to present to you is going to be a very exciting research program in India over the coming decades. And more seriously, the nation will be making a substantial commitment to funds over the next few decades, and only by building a vibrant community of about 200, it will justify this major commitment we are making to this particular project. So we really hope that we will be able to work with you in achieving this important goal. Let me end by thanking ICTS and its director, Professor Spenta Vadia, for the financial support towards the school and for encouragement to hold this particular school. RRCAT and its director, P.D. Gupta, for hosting this school, and all my co-organizers, Ajit at ICTS, Dr. Sendil Raja at RRCat, Tarun Sauradeep at Ayuka, and Rana Adhikari from Caltech. And of course, all of you participants who have come here to participate in this great adventure. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bala. May I now request Professor Saulson to give us a few words about what he's going to teach us, and on behalf of the lecturers, Professor Peter Saulson.
Director Dr. Peter Gupta, distinguished organizers, and welcome students. Let me express on behalf of Rana and Oliver, as well as myself, how excited we are to be here to participate in this first winter school of gravitational wave physics run here at RRCat. Our gratitude is matched by the excitement that we want to convey to you for the LIGO India project among everyone in LIGO and around the world. The fact that this is on the verge of becoming a reality is something that is going to transform our field. And it's a thrilling possibility that I couldn't even have imagined a few years ago. So please be proud of how far it's come already. And I'm very happy to play a role along with Rana and Oliver in helping to build the LIGO India team that will be part of this world team that's going to discover and exploit gravitational waves into the coming decades. The director of RRCat gave a wonderful history. I'd only like to mention one or two things that he might have mentioned as well. First of all, everyone in this room should be proud of the long history that India has in the development of general relativity, going back to Chandrasekhar. He especially played a very important role in our understanding of black holes, which is one of the main physics targets of our gravity wave observations. So this is not something that comes from nowhere. This is something deeply rooted here, and I think it's very fitting that this project is moving forward and is going to play such an important role in the future. Even at a less exalted plane than Chandrasekhar, I'd like to also mention that there's been a long connection between Indian scientists and the LIGO scientific collaboration. Sanjeev Dhurandar's group at Ayuka has been a member of the LIGO scientific collaboration since 2000, and I got to know him at that time. And so this is all a natural evolution going in a wonderful direction that we couldn't have guessed in the old days, but very, very fitting. When LIGO India becomes a reality, it will instantly be playing a central role in all the science that we're going to do, for exactly the reason that Dr. Peter Gupta said, namely, it will make the global network so much more functional as an astronomical instrument for detecting signals and finding where they come from on the sky. So this school is a wonderful moment to mark the next stage in the development of that history and to help build what we're going to be doing together as a team in the future. So now let me say just a couple of words about what we're going to be doing together this week in the school. As the name of the school indicates, this is devoted to experimental techniques in gravitational wave physics. And we have three emphases within that major topic. One is the basic physics and engineering principles behind the detectors. And the second is the implementation of those principles in the current generation of instruments, including advanced LIGO, and thus including also LIGO India, as well as looking ahead at various points to directions for future development. And there's going to be a special emphasis within that general framework on laser physics and technology, which is extremely fitting for this school being held at RRCat, since it's such a strong center for the development of laser technology. So the roles of we three instructors are simple to explain in principle. I will be discussing mainly basic principles, basic physics. Lectures by Rana will parallel those discussions of basic principles with more detailed application and more in-depth exploration of how those principles are to be understood and applied. And then we have the special treat of the suite of 5 lectures by Dr. Oliver Punken on laser technology and how it is applied in gravitational wave detectors. So I think that the organizers have come up with a very good curriculum for this school that you all are here for this week. Now, this is not going to be easy work for anyone. I looked at the schedule. 5 lectures a day for 5 days that you all are going to sit through and be learning from, along with time to explore several hours a day in the laboratory. You all are here to learn. We are here to help you learn. I hope you bring plenty of energy and leave your shyness outside the room. When you have a question and you need to understand something, please raise your hand or take us aside at tea or laboratory sessions or the scheduled in discussion sections. There's a lot of trouble that you all have come here. We've come to come here, that the organizers have put in, that our hosts have put in to make this possible. Let's make it the best educational experience. And yes, let me echo Professor Iyer's statement. We want you to be part of the team. We hope when you leave here at the end of this week, you are as excited as we are to be part of this great scientific effort, and that it will guide the development of you all's careers on into the coming decades, so that we will push this field forward together in a very nice way. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Swanson. I'll just now thank the various people who had helped us organize this school. I'd like to first of all thank Dr. P.D. Gupta, Director ARACAT, to help us in getting the program approved and get the various logistics approved. I'd like to thank Dr. P.K. Gupta, who helped us and guided us in the organization of the school. I'd like to thank the administration of ARACAT, who had been instrumental in providing all the required support to have the school running here. I'd also like to thank Arup Banerjee for allowing us to use his auditorium and laboratory for conducting the school through this week. I'd like to thank the lecturers who have taken out time during the vacation to be here. And I'd like to thank the participants who have turned up in spite of Indore being pretty cold during December. And last but not the least, I'd like to thank my team, my lab, who had helped up in organizing the various things and making arrangements as short notice and putting extra time to do that. We have a tea and a little bit of snacks out, and we meet back again at 11 o'clock for the first lecture. Thank you. Join us for tea, please.